number one favorite thing to cook in my slow cooker are soups. Soups are fail-proof in the slow cooker. You dump the ingredients in, the flavors cook together all day and merge together, and then in the evening you have a bold, delicious soup to enjoy. Seriously, my all-time favorite way to cook my soups are in the slow cooker. Let's get to my kitchen. Today I'm sharing all of our favorite slow cooker soups with you. To kick us off today, we are making this dreamy Marry Me chicken soup. It is so good. To your slow cooker, add in a diced yellow onion. Next, I'm adding in a half a cup of sun-dried tomatoes, 1 cup of heavy cream, 8 ounces of cubed cream cheese. Then I'll add in 2 tablespoons of fresh chopped up basil. That basil just elevates this recipe. Then add in a tablespoon of minced garlic, a teaspoon of salt, about 1/8 teaspoon of pepper, and then a half a teaspoon of garlic powder and a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Then for the broth, I'm adding in 5 cups of chicken broth, or you could use veggie broth, of course. And then for the chicken, I'm using 3 chicken breasts. I'm just using like whole chicken breast. You could also cube your chicken if you prefer like cubed chicken. I'm going to be shredding mine in the end, so that's why I'm adding mine in whole. But just give this a stir, and then you're going to cook this on low for about 6 hours or until that chicken is completely cooked through. And then once you do have your chicken cooked through, just remove it to a plate, and you're going to shred up that chicken on the plate. I'm going to shred up mine just with a fork, just because that chicken is going to be so tender. It just is fall apart. You could also chop up your chicken if you prefer like chopped up chicken in your soups, but it just shreds so easily, so that is why I'm shredding it up. But back over to my slow cooker, I'm just going to whisk in that cream cheese until it is smooth and combined with the rest of the ingredients. Now I'm going to add in my 3 cups of spinach. I did go ahead and chop up my spinach slightly, then add in about 1.25 cups of medium shell pasta along with that cooked shredded chicken. Give this a stir, and you're going to cook this on high for about 20 minutes or until that pasta is tender. And then once you do have your pasta tender, your house is going to be smelling so good at this point. Just add in a 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese if you're a Parmesan cheese fan like me. And then once that cheese melts down, you could serve this gorgeous soup up. We topped ours with a little bit more fresh basil on the top. This soup is phenomenal. If you are looking for a soup to like wow your guests this fall and winter, you need to try this one. This one is warm, cozy, and so rich and delicious. There's a good reason why this 8-can taco soup is one of my all-time favorite, most popular recipes. It is so easy to make. To your slow cooker, add in a 15-ounce can of drained corn, 10 ounces of green chili enchilada sauce, a 14-ounce can of chicken broth, 10 ounces of cream of chicken soup. If you don't care for cream of soups, you could of course skip that one. 15 ounces of drained and rinsed pinto beans, 1 can of drained chicken, or you could use any type of like rotisserie style chicken or cooked shredded chicken. And then taco seasoning along with a 15-ounce can of drained and rinsed black beans, 14 ounces of drained diced tomatoes. I'm using kind of like a diced tomatoes with green chili can today. Give this a stir, let it cook on low for about 3 to 5 hours. This soup is so easy. I occasionally make it on the stove when I just don't remember to, make it in my slow cooker, but it turns out so delicious. It just has to simmer for a while, let the flavors just sit together and get ultra delicious. It's going to look like this in the end. Give it a little stir. We topped ours with a little bit of diced tomato, cheese, sour cream, and avocado. This is amazing. It's definitely a pantry staple dinner. Easy to throw together, so fresh tasting, and perfect for this time of year. Now we're getting started on this Italian vegetable sausage soup. It's kind of like minestrone soup. It's one of my husband's all-time favorite soups. It's so good. To this pan on the stove, I added in 1 pound of Italian sausage along with 1 diced yellow onion. Just break the sausage up and cook it through. While it's cooking away, over to my cutting board, I am getting started on my vegetables. I sliced my celery, zucchini, and 2 large carrots. Now that my sausage is cooked through, just remove any excess grease from the pan. Then just add that sausage right into your slow cooker. Then you're going to add in 4 cups of chicken broth, or you could of course use veggie broth or any broth that you like. Then a tablespoon of minced garlic along with 15 ounces of cannellini beans. These beans are just so good in this recipe. They're kind of like a creamy bean. They're just amazing. Then 14 ounces of diced tomatoes. I love the petite diced tomatoes. They're kind of like smaller diced tomatoes, super easy to eat as well. Then add in your vegetables, a half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of Italian seasoning, and 1/8 the teaspoon of pepper. Give this a stir, and then you're going to cook it on low for about 6 to 7 hours. Once the cooking time is up, your house is going to be smelling like an Italian restaurant. Stir in a half a cup of Parmesan cheese if you're a Parmesan fan like me. And then once the cheese is melty, just, put the lid on and let it melt down. You could serve this soup up. This soup goes great frozen. So if you do want to freeze this soup, it is really delicious frozen as well. Reheats wonderfully. This soup is so amazing. Like I said before, it's definitely one of my husband's all-time favorite soups. You have the sausage in it, all those veggies, the beans. It is one of the yummiest soups. This chicken noodle soup is perfect if you're feeling like a craving for chicken noodle soup or slightly under the weather. It's easy and delicious. I just started out by cutting up my vegetables, my celery, onion, and my carrots. Into my slow cooker, I added my 3 chicken breasts. I added my chicken breast whole. You could, of course, chop your chicken breast up into kind of like cubes if you prefer like cubed chicken in your chicken noodle soup. Then add in 8 cups of chicken broth, a tablespoon of minced garlic. Toss in those vegetables that we just cut up along with a dash of salt and pepper. Then you're going to add in a half a teaspoon of thyme, 2 bay leaves, and then a half a teaspoon of rosemary. I've made this soup before without the bay leaves just because I didn't have bay leaves on hand, and it still turns out delicious. After you add all of your seasonings in, give this a stir, put the lid on top. Then you're going to cook this on low for about 6 to 8 hours or until that chicken's cooked through. Like I was saying before, if you like cubed chicken in your chicken noodle soup, I do recommend cubing your chicken up while it is still raw for any of these soup recipes today. That way it's just easier to have it cubed in the end, because as you see, if you try to cube it in the end like this, it kind of shreds up. It still turns out perfectly fine, but if you want like perfect cubed chicken in your chicken noodle soup or any of the soups today, like I said, I do recommend you just cubing your chicken up and then adding it in while it is raw. But once my chicken was cooked through, I just kind of chopped mine up, and then I added in my 8 ounces of egg noodles. Give this a stir, let it cook for about 10 minutes or until those egg noodles are tender. Then I'm adding in the juice from a half of a lemon. Give it a stir and then remove those 2 bay leaves because nobody wants to accidentally eat a bay leaf. This chicken noodle soup is kind of my go-to chicken noodle soup in the fall and winter, when somebody's feeling under the weather or we're just having a craving for chicken noodle soup. It's easy to throw together, it is delicious, and it is kind of like a hearty chicken noodle soup with kind of like pantry staple ingredients. Now we're getting started on this ham and potato soup. When I say this one is good, I am not joking. So to your slow cooker, add in 5 peeled and diced russet potatoes, a diced yellow onion, 3 large carrots, and a celery. Then you're going to add in 16 ounces of diced ham. I just bought the pre-diced ham to make it easy. Then add in 4.5 cups of chicken broth. For the seasonings, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of salt, about 1/8 a teaspoon of pepper, and then a teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/8 a teaspoon of oregano. Give this a stir, and then you're going to let this cook on low for about 7 hours. Once the cooking time is up, you could serve it as is, or if you'd like to add in the creamy mixture, which I do recommend, it's 1.5 cups of heavy cream mixed with 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Just whisk those 2 ingredients together. And then here is what this soup is looking like. Like I said, if you don't want to add the cream in or any of the dairy products, if you want to leave this dairy-free, you could serve it as is. But I am adding in my sour cream. It's 1/2 cup of that, 3/4 cup of shredded cheddar cheese, and the heavy cream flour mixture. I know it's looking questionable at this point, but just give it a stir, let this cook, stirring it occasionally for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, it's going to look like the smoothest, most delicious ham and potato soup you will ever have. It is stunning in my opinion. It's seriously the best ham and potato soup. It is absolutely delicious. I've actually made it in the past with like leftover ham from the holidays, so this one's definitely a good one to save. Now we're making this slow cooker lentil soup, and if you're a lentil fan like me, you'll love this one. Also, this one's a meatless meal. To your slow cooker, add in your 4 sliced carrots, tablespoon of minced garlic, then add in your celery along with a diced onion. After you add that diced onion in there, add in a tablespoon of brown sugar. That just adds added flavor. Then add in 6 cups of vegetable broth along with 14 ounces of diced tomatoes. Like I said before, I just love those petite diced tomatoes. They're smaller tomatoes. They're just super good in recipes. And then 14 ounces of Italian style diced tomatoes as well, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste, a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And then for the lentils, you could either use brown or green lentils. I'm just measuring mine out. You're going to use about 1.5 cups of lentils. And then I am rinsing them in my mesh strainer. The reason why you do want to rinse them is just to remove any dirt and other debris that can cling to them during harvesting, as well as remove any excess starch that could cause foaming while it's being cooked. Just add your lentils right into your slow cooker, give it a stir, and then you're going to let this cook on low for about 7 hours. And then once your cooking time is up, just give this a stir, and then you could serve up your lentil soup. Some of you might know by now, but I just love lentils. Lentils are my favorite meat substitute. They're super high in protein and different nutrients, very affordable at the store, and very easy to cook with. They're also very versatile. I've made like lentil sloppy joes in the past, lentil enchiladas, and this stew is just so delightful. This one's a good one. Now we are making this chicken tortilla soup, so to your slow cooker, add in 2 medium-sized chicken breasts. Next, add in a 10-ounce can of enchilada sauce. I'm using red enchilada sauce. After that, add in a 15-ounce can of undrained corn. Then add in 1 can of rotel. After you add the rotel in, add in a tablespoon of minced garlic, then 1 diced yellow onion. For all of these recipes today, you could always add ingredients or subtract ingredients to them to really make them to your liking. Then add in 15 ounces of chicken broth, 1 cup of water, then add in 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. After that, add in a teaspoon of chili powder, a teaspoon of salt, and a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Give this a good stir and let it cook all day on low for about 7 to 8 hours. After the cooking time is up, just shred your chicken up with 2 forks or a meat masher, or however you choose to do so. After your chicken is shredded, add it back into your slow cooker, give it a stir, and then you could serve this easy dinner up. If this soup doesn't scream fall and winter months, I don't know what does. We topped it with tortilla strips, a little bit of cheese, sour cream, and lime, but top yours with anything that you have on hand, or feel free to not top it with anything. It really is so good and flavorsome. I love lasagna soup at this time of year, so that is what we are making now. Over to the pan on my stove, I'm adding in 1 pound of Italian sausage. Break the sausage up and cook it through. Right now, I'm breaking my sausage up with my meat chopper, and now that my sausage is cooked through, I did notice some extra grease in my pan, so I'm just removing any excess grease from my pan now. My mom taught me this paper towel trick when I was younger, and it works pretty well to remove some excess grease. Now with my cooked sausage, I'm just going to add it right into my slow cooker. After I added my sausage into my slow cooker, I'm going to add in a tablespoon of minced garlic, along with 4.5 cups of beef broth, or you could use veggie broth or chicken broth. Next, add in 28 ounces of crushed tomatoes, along with 24 ounces of marinara sauce. You could use any type of marinara sauce you have on hand or that you like. For the seasonings, I'm keeping it simple with a teaspoon of pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and I'm going to give this a stir. Put the lid on top and cook this on low for about 6 to 7 hours. Now that my cooking time is up, I am just going to add in about 6 uncooked lasagna noodles, and you do want to break those noodles up into smaller pieces just like this. I'm going to let this cook on high for about 40 minutes to cook the noodles. While that was cooking away, I just started on the cheese mixture now. So into this bowl, I tossed in a cup of cottage cheese along with a half a cup of mozzarella cheese and a half a cup of Parmesan cheese. I gave this a really good stir, and there you go. This is your cheesy mixture for your lasagna. But now that my lasagna noodles are tender, I just added this cheesy mixture in, and I'm going to give this a good stir to melt the cheese, and then you could serve it up. I absolutely love lasagna soup so much. This soup is so rich, cheesy, and hearty. It is amazing. There is something I do want to warn you guys about. Every slow cooker does cook differently, so just make sure you test your lasagna noodles before you add in the cheese mixture to make sure they are nice and tender and not chewy in the middle. I was craving white chicken chili last week. To my slow cooker, I added in 1 large chicken breast. Next, add in a 15-ounce can of cannellini beans. Make sure you drain your can. Next, add in a 15-ounce drained can of Great Northern beans. And to give this added flavor, I'm adding in a 4-ounce can of diced green chilies. Now add in 1 diced yellow onion along with 8 ounces of cream cheese. Make sure you cube your cream cheese just so it melts down the best. And then a tablespoon of minced garlic along with 2 cups of chicken broth. For the seasonings, I'm tossing in a teaspoon and a half of salt, a teaspoon of pepper, and then a teaspoon and a half of cumin, oregano, and chili powder. The very last thing I added in was 1 fresh lime that I juiced. Give this a really good stir, put the lid on top, and cook this on low for about 7 to 8 hours. Now that the cooking time is up and my chicken is completely cooked through, I'm going to remove my chicken to a plate and I'm going to shred it up. Now I'm going to whisk the cream cheese in with the rest of the ingredients into my slow cooker. The cream cheese might look a little chunky and not super appetizing, but just whisk it in until it is well combined. But once your chicken is shredded, just add it in, stir this up, and then you could serve this delicious white chicken chili up. Here is my bowl of food. I topped mine with fresh cilantro, a little bit of pepper, Monterey Jack cheese, and sour cream, but top yours with anything that you love. This soup is so rich and delicious. It is so perfect for this time of year. My family just loves it so much. I've been on such a potato soup kick recently, so now we are making this warm and cozy potato soup. To begin, peel and cube your 6 russet potatoes, dice a yellow onion, bring these over to a slow cooker and add them right into your slow cooker. Next, you're going to add in 4.5 cups of chicken broth. After you add your chicken broth right in there, go ahead and toss in 4 tablespoons of sliced butter. After that, add in a tablespoon of minced garlic, a teaspoon of salt, and a teaspoon of pepper. This potato soup recipe is really easy. Cook this on low for about 6 hours. After the cooking time is up, you are just going to get started on this creamy mixture. So into this bowl, add in a cup of heavy cream along with 1/3 cup of sour cream, and then a little bit of flour or cornstarch. This will help thicken up the soup. Give it a really good stir. Now add that creamy mixture right into your slow cooker, stir it super duper well, and you're going to let this cook on low for about 20 more minutes. This is going to help thicken up the soup and kind of make it your traditional like creamy potato soup. And then something that we like to do is after those 20 minutes, I like to mash up the potatoes a little bit just so they're not all big and chunky still. So if you have a potato masher or a meat masher, mash up some of those potatoes if you like, and then you could serve this beautiful potato soup up. We topped ours with a little bit of shredded cheese, black pepper, and then sliced green onions and bacon bits, but top your potato soup with any toppings that you love. Potato soup is like such comfort food for me in the fall and winter. I can make it non-stop. It is just so rich and creamy. Now we're making my favorite beef stew. I actually made it for my parents and my siblings on this night, so I kind of made a lot of it, but they asked me to make this and bring it to their house for dinner just because they like it so much. I started out by peeling and cubing my russet potatoes and my carrots. Now I'm searing my meat. I'm using about 2 pounds of beef stew meat right now. I added it to a large pan with 2 tablespoons of hot olive oil in the pan. I'm seasoning it with a dash of salt and pepper, and you're going to want to sear this on a high heat for a few minutes just to kind of get a caramelized crust on the outside. I don't always sear my meat before I add it into my slow cooker for beef stew. You could do it if you have a little bit of time, but if you don't have time, don't feel like you need to do it. I know how wild the mornings are with little ones sometimes, but this recipe is also on page 145 in my cookbook. It's in the slow cooker section. You could also do this beef stew just in a pot on the stove, but I have over 100 of my family's favorite recipes in this cookbook if you don't have one yet, and there's 8 different sections. But here's what your meat will be looking like once there's like a golden brown crust on the outside. It's not going to be completely cooked through, just seared on the outside. So now go ahead and add this meat right into your slow cooker. You're also going to add in the potatoes and carrots that we just cut up earlier. After you add the potatoes and carrots into your slow cooker, you're going to add in a diced yellow onion along with a 1.5 cups of frozen peas. This beef stew is great because you could always add different veggies. If you don't care for these veggies, you could always use different veggies. Really make it your own. Then I added in 8 ounces of tomato sauce followed by 3.5 cups of beef broth. Then add in 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. Then for the seasonings, I'm going to add in a teaspoon of paprika, then 2 teaspoons of dried thyme. After you add that thyme in there, add in 2 teaspoons of dried rosemary. The rosemary really kicks this up a notch. I normally add in 2 bay leaves, but I was all out of bay leaves, so give this a good stir and let this cook all day on low for about 8 hours. Your house will be smelling so good. Once the 8 hours is up, you could either serve it up now, or if you kind of want it a little bit thicker, remove some of the broth in the slow cooker, then stir in about 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Once it is super duper well combined and that flour is basically smooth, add it right back into your slow cooker and then give this a stir. Let it cook for 20 minutes and then you can serve it up. Like I said, if you don't want to do the flour slurry, you absolutely don't need to, but I made this beef stew for quite a few people on this night, and everybody, even the little ones, absolutely loved it. This is such a great, delicious meal. Whenever I'm in charge of making a meal for my family's house, quite a few times they ask me to bring this just because it's so yummy and hearty in the winter time. We also serve this with a side salad and dinner rolls. There was nothing left of the soup once everybody was through eating it. I've been on such a chili kick recently, and it's starting to become chili time of year. To the pan on my stove, I added in 1 pound of ground turkey. If you don't want to use ground turkey, you could always use ground beef, ground chicken, or if you want to make this meatless, just don't add any meat in at all. Then I added 1 white onion that I diced along with a tablespoon of minced garlic. I broke the turkey up and I cooked it through. Once my ground turkey was completely cooked through, I brought it over to my slow cooker and I added it right in there. Now for the remaining ingredients, you're going to toss in 1 can of drained and rinsed kidney beans, a can of drained and rinsed pinto beans, and I do want to let you know I'm a little bit sick right now, so if my voice sounds off, that's probably why. 3 cups of beef broth along with a 6-ounce can of tomato paste, 2 cans of Rotel, then toss in a 14-ounce can of fire-roasted tomatoes. For the seasonings, all these seasonings give this recipe so much flavor. 3 tablespoons of chili powder, 2 teaspoons of cumin, a teaspoon of paprika, and then my favorite part, a tablespoon of brown sugar. If you don't put brown sugar in your chili, you need to. An 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt, and 1/2 teaspoon of regular pepper. Give this a stir and let this cook on low for about 6 to 8 hours. We like to top our bowls of chili with plenty of shredded cheese, fresh cilantro, and sour cream, but you could top your chili with anything that you love. This chili has so much rich, bold flavor. I promise you will love this one, and it's such a simple recipe to throw together. Now we're making this rich broccoli and cheese soup. To my slow cooker, I'm adding in about 6 cups of fresh broccoli florets that I cut into smaller pieces. I'm also adding in 1 yellow onion that I diced, along with a half a cup of celery that I sliced, or you could use a half a cup of sliced carrots. I just didn't have carrots on hand, so that's why I used celery. Then I added in 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of minced garlic, and now I'm making a cornstarch slurry to help thicken the soup up. It's just 1 cup of vegetable broth and 1/3 cup of cornstarch whisked together. After I added that cornstarch slurry in, I added in 5 cups of vegetable broth, and then I seasoned this with a dash of pepper and salt. I gave this a really good stir, and I cooked this on low for about 6 to 7 hours. Once the cooking time was up, I gave this another stir, and now I'm going to add in 1 cup of heavy cream, and then you're also going to add in your cheese at this point. I am adding in 5 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. I did shred my cheese fresh. I just think it melts down best with a fresh block of cheese. I gave this a stir, and I cooked this on high for 30 minutes to melt the cheese down. Since our broccoli and cheese soup only has about 30 minutes left of cooking, I wanted to make these 30-minute homemade easy dinner rolls, and I want to show you how I make them. So to this mixing bowl, I added in 1 1/4 cup of warm water, 1/3 cup of vegetable oil, 1/4 cup of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of active dry yeast. Yes, I said 2 tablespoons. And then I gave this a whisk, and I let this sit for 5 to 10 minutes until it got bubbly like this. Now I added in a dash of salt, 1 egg, and then you're going to toss in about 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and then you're going to put the bread hook on your mixing bowl and mix this up until it kind of gets elasticy. And if it is too sticky, just add a little bit of flour in until it does become elasticy. And if you don't have a mixing machine like this, you could always mix this by hand. It will take a little bit longer, but it will work, I promise. To my 9x13 baking dish, I sprayed it with nonstick spray, and now you are going to make 12 dinner rolls. So just take a little bit of the dough and roll it into small balls. I covered our rolls with a towel, and I let them rest for just 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I removed the towel, and I baked these in a preheated oven to 350 degrees for about 12 to 17 minutes, or until they're nice and golden brown. But here's my broccoli and cheese soup. It is so rich, creamy, and delicious. It's also very easy to make in the slow cooker like that. And here are the dinner rolls. I never make complicated dinner rolls, so this is why I love this recipe so much. They're so easy to throw together. Now we're making my favorite slow cooker taco soup recipe of all time. To the pan on my stove, I'm adding in a pound of ground beef, or you could use any ground meat or ground meat substitute that you like, for example, turkey or chicken, but I'm just breaking my ground beef up and I cooked it through. Over to my slow cooker, I was kind of having a busy day, so I wanted to use a slow cooker liner just to make cleanup extra easy, so I'm just lining my slow cooker with one of these. Now I'm going to add in the cooked ground beef that we just cooked up on the stove. You're also going to want to add in 1 undrained can of pinto beans, along with an undrained can of corn, then 4 ounces of diced green chilies. If you're wondering what green chilies taste like, they're just flavorful. They're not super spicy at all. Then I'm going to add in a can of kidney beans, along with a can of petite diced tomatoes and rotel. For the seasonings, this is so simple but really delicious. It's just 2 tablespoons of ranch seasoning and 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. Give this a really good stir and let this cook on low for about 6 to 7 hours. Top your soup with anything that you love. I topped mine with shredded cheese and sour cream. Taco soup is probably one of my husband Will's favorite soups just because it is so hearty and delicious. Also, he just loves the leftovers for lunch the next day because they're extra flavorful the next day, he always tells me. This cracked chicken soup is so much fun to make, so to my slow cooker I added in my 2 chicken breasts. I seasoned them with a dash of pepper and salt. Then I added in 2 teaspoons of garlic and onion powder, followed by 2 teaspoons of dried chives and a teaspoon of dried dill. Then add in your 6 cups of chicken broth. I put a block of cream cheese over the top and I cooked this on low for about 6 hours. After the cooking time was up, I started on my bacon. So to the pan on my stove, I added about 6 strips of bacon down on the pan. I cooked this bacon up until it was crispy. And I do want to let you know, if you don't care for regular bacon, you could use turkey bacon as a substitute, or you could just use regular cooked crumbled bacon as a substitute for cooking your own bacon. But once my bacon was cooked, I removed it to a plate lined with paper towels. And back over to our slow cooker, I'm just shredding the chicken up, and I'm kind of incorporating the cream cheese in with my electric hand mixer. Now I'm going to add in 2 cups of fresh spinach, 1.5 cups of shredded sharp cheddar cheese, our bacon that I cooked and crumbled, and then add in 1/3 cup of sliced green onions. I gave this a stir and I let this cook on high for about 10 minutes to melt the cheese. This soup is definitely my husband's cup of tea. I can make it for him over and over again and he just wouldn't get tired of it. Also, I love how hearty this soup is, and you can make it your own so easily by adding ingredients or subtracting ingredients. Make sure you're subscribed down below the video so you don't miss the next video like this. I'll see you there. Bye for now.